the best car, SUV, or truck, guess what? You're in luck. Frontier Motors is down the street.
Hello, welcome to the Frontier Motor Show. This is Iven Streckel, owner of Frontier Motors. We've been bringing this show live to you for almost 25 years now. And for the next half an hour, we're going to talk about what's going on in the car industry, and not only what's going on at Frontier Motors and in Pensacola, but also nationwide. And one of the things, of course, that we talk about first is what's going on, what's the major thing going on worldwide, and that is the microprocessor chip shortage that we still have going on. Automotive News comes out with this is a car magazine that comes out every week, and the headlines say, it says that tight supply sends prices well over window sticker. These days, you know, when you're looking at a car, when you're looking at a new car, what's the first thing you think about when you go car shopping? I'm talking about if it was more than 12 months ago. Well, the first thing you think about, well, how much is it and what's the deal? How much can I get off and what's the rebates? Well, forget about that. It ain't going to happen. Right now, the question is, how much over window sticker do you have to pay? And dealers are putting a marketing adjustment based on supply and demand. Some vehicles are in very, very tight supply, and those are going to command a much higher overall window sticker than something that is not as sellable. For example, a Chevy Bolt. That is their all-electric car. They've gotten some bad press lately because the car's batteries start on fire. Matter of fact, they have recalled those cars and they tell you not to drive them. But for those people that are looking to buy one, boy, you can get a pretty darn good deal on it. So there's still cars out there that you can buy and get a good deal on. But most cars right now are still somewhat available. The supply is diminished on every dealer lot. If you go to Car City or go to Navy Boulevard here in our town, you're going to see that the inventories are probably about a third of what they were 12 months ago, which is way down. If you got a dealer that normally stocks 300 cars and now they have 100 cars, and the ones that are left on their lot are the ones that have been picked through, you know, the bland colors, the bland equipment, nothing that makes them special. All the beautiful ones are already sold out. So what are you going to do? Well, you're going to order out a car, but hopefully you'll come to Frontier Motors, and that's where we come in. So we talk about what's going on in the new car industry. It has affected the used car industry also. One of the major things that's done to used cars, it has kept them from their normal depreciation. One of the things I've been talking about for 25 years is how much you can save when you buy a used car, and there's still a good savings. It's not as good as it was about 12 months ago, but it's still enough there to entice you to buy a car that's maybe 6 months old or 1 year old. Of course, we also have vehicles that are 2, 3, 4 years old, and then a lot of trade-ins that we take that might be 10 years old, 15 years old, that still have a lot of life left in them. So even though we are normally the alternative to new, we also have a lot of lesser expensive cars that we have taken in trade. I do not buy lesser expensive cars at auction because they are not guaranteed. I only buy newer cars at auction that are still guaranteed by the auction. And the way that works at an auction, if you don't know, is that auctions have a rating system now. Everything's pretty much electronic since the COVID hit. Matter of fact, most of the auctions have closed down. They're back up and running, but they don't have hardly as many people. They don't have drivers, so the cars aren't running through the lane. So we get a buyer that looks at the cars at the auctions a day ahead of time, and then I put all the values together as far as what they should bid, and then they still bid on them. And the reason we can do that electronically, excuse me, is because the auction guarantees those cars. So let's say the car comes in and my buyer missed something because he didn't have a chance to inspect it properly. If it comes in and there's something wrong with it, if the vehicle is misrepresented, they'll just give me my money back, including shipping. They'll take it back. So it's a good way for me to buy a car knowing that I'm only going to buy the cream of the crop. And if the vehicle has been misrepresented, they will take it back. Well, that doesn't happen with older cars because they sell them as an as-is. So the reason I'm mentioning this and taking so long to mention this is because I would love to buy your older car. So if you've got a vehicle and you're thinking, well, I'm just going to throw it on Craigslist or Facebook, go ahead and just bring us that car. Wouldn't it be so nice if we gave you a fair value, maybe even what you're looking for, and just wrote you a check and you're done? Bring us the title and away you can drive within a matter of 15 minutes. And we advertise that because we always have 3 buyers in-house at all times to appraise your cars, we can appraise your car and give you a check within 15 minutes if you have the title or if it's an electronic title, because we can print out the electronic electronic title as long as we have your authorization. So the new car industry is hurting right now. It is not a good time in my mind to buy a new car. I think it's still a good time to buy a pre-owned car. And I'll give you an example. I put a couple of them together that I have. One of the cars that I'm driving right now that I drove here to the show is a 15,000 mile Lexus LS 500. If you don't know what that is, that's Lexus's big sedan passenger car. It's absolutely gorgeous. This car had the original window sticker. It was $101,000. If you go to the Lexus dealer and buy a brand new one, you will not get a discount. I would be surprised if you can buy it for $101,000. We're selling that car with 15,000 miles on it for $69,800. So let's round it off at $70,000. That's a $71,000 savings over a car that has 0 miles on it versus one with 15,000. The other one we have is a Yukon XL Denali, which is the suburban GMC. And this car, matter of fact, I took a trip to Wisconsin a couple of weeks ago, and I drove this vehicle to Wisconsin and back and put on about 2,000 miles. And the vehicle right now has 14,000 miles on it, and it's over $100,000 brand new. It's $82,500. So you're still saving $17,000, $18,000 on a car that has 14,000 miles. Of course, it still has factory warranty. And if, of course, it smells like new, it's brand new, it's got a clean history report, there's no dings and scratches. So people always say, well, why would I buy a used car and get somebody else's problems? And I still have most of that get that from the older people. The old people years ago, well, why would somebody trade in a car with 500 miles on it? Well, maybe they didn't like it. Maybe it was too big. Maybe it was too small. Maybe they can't afford the payment. Maybe they can't afford the insurance. There are hundreds might be exaggerated, but there are lots and lots of reasons why somebody buys a car and it ends up at Frontier Motors 4 months later with 50 miles, 100 miles, 500 miles on it. And we normally have about 50 to 70 cars on the lot that have less than 10,000 miles on it and over 150 that have less than 20,000 miles on it. So these are cars that I would call the alternative to new. And especially now with what's happening with the microprocessor chip shortage, that new car dealers are pretty much gouging customers when they're walking in. And when I say gouging, that's a pretty bad word, but they're using the supply and demand method. They did that originally. When I read this thing from Automotive News, it says typically in the past, above window sticker prices for new vehicles typically have been limited to extremely hot newcomers such as the Chevy Corvette or the Honda Type R. And that's a hot rod Honda. And they're talking about the Ford Bronco that came out and the Mustang when they came out. Those cars, when they come out, they are such a hot commodity that people go nuts over them. And the Corvette's still like that. The new Corvette Stingray body style came out 2 years ago, and they were selling for $30,000 over list price. Guess what? It's the longest running over list price that I've ever seen since I've been in the car business. I got in the car business when I was 15. There's still $30,000 over list, and that has nothing to do with the chip shortage. I saw about 15 Corvettes at the auction today. They had no miles on them. Well, when I say no miles, I'm talking about 7 miles, 8 miles, 10 miles on them. And the reason they're selling them is because they're bringing way over list price. So they don't have to advertise them. They don't have to pay the floor plan. They don't have to worry about anything. Take them to the auction. They sell them to independent dealerships that sell them to you. Well, I have yet to buy a Corvette, even though I love the new body style. I know it's hit or miss. Some Corvette lovers out there like the old body style. I love the new body style Corvette. And if I could pay even list price for one, I would go ahead and buy one because I know I'm not going to lose any money on it. But I'll be darned if I pay $30,000 over list price for a car and then try to sell it to you and make money on it. That would be a complete ripoff. But I'm getting off track. What I'm saying is that it's still a good time to buy a used car because there's still going to be savings. And if I was going to put a pencil to it, I'd say the average savings on a 1-year-old used car right now, on the average, I've given you some extremes here of $20,000 and $30,000, but the average is about $6,000 savings over 1 year. You also save the tax on that. If you're looking at 7%, that's another $300 to $400 you're going to save. Our fees at Frontier Motors are less than most dealerships, so you're going to save another couple $100. So what you have to do is look at the bottom line out the door price, especially if you have a trade-in. Boy, everything can get completely screwed up with a trade-in. And right now, it's screwed up for the better. I hope you have a trade-in, because if I'm going to sell you one of my cars, I'd love to take another one in trade that I can sell to someone else, and maybe take another one in on that. So there are actually a couple of new car dealerships up north that I read in Automotive News that will not sell you. One of them was a Honda dealer. There's a Honda dealership in New England that if you don't have a trade-in right now, they won't sell you a car. Because if they got 40 cars in stock and they sell one, now they only have 39. They don't want to go any lower in their inventory. They want a car to replace it with. So you have to have a trade. I'm not even sure if that's legal. if that's legal. I'm not sure if that's discrimination, but that's what they're doing. I guess if you own your own business, you can do whatever the heck you want. Same with pricing. If you own your own business, you can price a car at whatever you want. The new car dealerships are doing it. They're putting a marketing adjustment on every new car out there. I was in Car City 3 weeks ago with my bicycle on a Sunday when most of the dealers are closed. I went and looked at just about every dealer there, and the highest markup I saw on one car was $23,000. Was on one of the local vehicles. I'm not going to tell you which one it was, but there was a lot of them that were $20,000. Most of the pickup trucks in Car City had at least a $7,000 or $8,000 dealer marketing adjustment on it, and even the cheap cars, the $20,000 cars, had a $4,500 dealer marketing adjustment, which means basically that I'm not sure if they're going to discount the car, but they're marketing them up $4,500 over a window sticker. I didn't go buy one, so I'm not sure if you can get a $500 discount or if they hold it at that price, or maybe you can get a couple of $1,000 discount on it. But it's very, very interesting. And I'm telling you folks, I got in the car business when I was 15 as a lot attendant, and then at first as a janitor, then a porter and a lot attendant, then a salesman. I sold my first car in 1975, and I've been through the ups and downs of the car business. I've been through 18% interest. I've been through the 2.9% interest. I've been through employee discounts, all types of gizmos and different advertising specials they've come up with to sell cars, to sell new cars. I've never seen this happen where you walk into a new car dealership and you're hoping that you can pay list price for one. Because right now that would be a deal. And that's never ever happened before. It's always, I sold new cars. I sold new Pontiacs, Cadillacs, Isuzus, and Jaguars back in the 80s. And the question every single time is, what's the best you can do? I'm not paying that stupid list price. And that's before they even had the markups on them. Now, what a lot of dealerships have done, especially the Honda dealerships and the Nissan dealerships for years and years, and Toyota too, for years and years they've had port installed options. For Toyota, for example, they build them in Japan. Not all of them, but most of the plants are Japan. So they ship them here to Southeastern Toyota. Southeastern Toyota takes them and puts a bunch of stuff on them. Then they go to the deal. When I'm saying a bunch of stuff, I'm talking about spoilers, wheels and tires, window flares. On pickup trucks, they put the step bars, they put a leather interior in them, and that all goes on the original window sticker, even though it was port installed. Then they send them to the dealer, and then the dealer puts their addendum on it, and they put rust proofing, pinstriping, gloss treatment, safety etching on the glass, maybe an alarm system, extended warranties. They put different floor mats, and then they have their dealer markup on it. But now it's gone even stupider, where they're putting a marketing adjustment on top of that. And that's why I say that right now, if you're thinking about buying a brand new car, I'm not sure if it's a good time. Matter of fact, I know exactly it's not sure that it's not a good time to buy a car. Just like it's not a good time to buy a house right now. If you've got a house and you don't have one that you can sell first, it's not a good time to buy a house. I'm hoping in the next year or so, it's going to go back down. I've been through the ups and downs in the housing industry also. And right now, the car business this is extreme. So people say, well, what's the difference between a new car and a used car? Well, there's still a $6,000 price difference. So you'll still say, to most people, $6,000 to buy a car that's maybe between 6 months and 1 year old, that's still a pretty good savings. And what if I also paid $2,000 more for the trade-in? Because at Frontier Motors, being an independent dealer, we sell every make and model. If you go to a Lexus dealership with a pickup truck, you probably are not going to get a lot of money for the pickup truck because there's not too many people going to a Lexus dealership to buy a used truck. So what do with that truck? They farm it out to someone. Well, they take a piece of that profit away from you, the one that you should be putting in your pocket. Because we sell every make and model, that doesn't happen at Frontier Motors. I don't care if you've got a 3/4 ton diesel truck, if you've got a Mercedes high-top conversion van, or if you've got a Corvette, or if you've got a Volvo, it doesn't matter. We sell them all. And therefore, the appraisal that you might get from Frontier Motors could be as much as $1,000 to $2,000 more than the new car dealer we're talking about. And then if you're saving another $6,000 because it's used, now we could be talking some real money. You save the tax money and the fact that the way that you go about getting a purchase at Frontier Motors, just the way that we do our transactions, is completely different than most car dealerships. And everybody knows the reputation of a car dealership being new or used. They hate the game. And you know what the game is. You go in there and they show you the car and you're thinking about, okay, well, thank you very much, Mr. Salesman. I really appreciate it. I'm going to go shop around and I'll let you know. Well, what if I could knock this off? Would you buy it right now? What if I could do this? That's why they have that dealer markup on there, so they can knock something off at least to make you feel a little bit better and kind of entice you to make that buying decision. We don't do that at Frontier Motors. What we do is you drive the car. If you like it, the salesman's going to go to manager. I've got a customer interest in the car. Here's what we've got it online for. Can you do any better? Sometimes you can. Sometimes you can't. Sometimes the online price that we have is the best price we can do. Sometimes there's still a markup on that where we can make that decision. Or if you've got a nice trade-in, we can make the decision to pay more money for that trade-in. So especially if you have a trade-in, that bottom line we might be able to do a little bit better than what we've got the car advertised for. But in other words, out the door bottom line price is how you compare them apples to apples. I'm the first one to tell you, if you can buy a brand new car for close to a used car, I'd buy brand new. You know, if my out the door price is $20,000 with everything included, and the new one is 21 and has no miles, and mine's got 5,000 miles on, you know what? For $1,000, I'd probably buy the brand new one, unless I didn't like the color of the new one. I've had that happen already, where I've asked the customer, "Why'd you buy it from me? It was only $1,000 less." Well, I wanted blue. All they had was purple. Normally, there's other features, other reasons that you might buy a vehicle from Frontier Motors if it's only $1,000 less. And a lot of times it has to do with equipment. And you might not care. You know, I've got people that say, well, I don't care about leather interior. I don't care about the sunroof. I don't care if it's got electric trunk opener or if it's got... but a lot of people, I can entice them to pay more for the car if my vehicle is less, but not a lot less, because of the safety features on the car. Safety features that can save your life. And you know what? They're getting better and better and better. Consumers Reports, which I subscribe to, is putting a lot of pressure on car manufacturers to put these safety features as standard features. And they are not doing a good job because they don't have that handled yet. I got a customer looking for a Jeep Grand Cherokee. He wants a four-wheel drive so he can tow it behind his motorhome. But he wants the adaptive cruise control, which is the automatic cruise control that can save your life. If the car in front of you hits their brakes, your car will hit your brakes also, even if you're not paying attention. He's got to have that feature. Well, I've been on a limited Grand Cherokee. The car had a list price of $48,000. It had the blind spot, it had the lane changing, but you had to pay $2,800 more for the advanced safety group, which included lane protection, surround cameras, and adaptive cruise control. That's a $2,800 option on almost a $50,000 car. So what I'm getting at, folks, if my car has those features, and it's only and you're saying, well, it's not a lot less than a new one. Well, if it's $2,800 option that ours has that they doesn't have, now it's more than $1,000 savings. And then again, we go back to the trade-in, because we sell every make and model. What if I give you more money for the trade? These are, you know, I'm talking about Frontier Motors because that's my whole ulterior motive to have this show. You talk about that we give you free advice. That's what we do at Frontier Motors. We started out in 1996 with this advertising model that you don't have to buy a car from us. Come in and get free advice. If you're going to buy your neighbor's car, if you're going to buy a car in Car City, if you're going to buy a car from Sandy Sansing or Pete Moore or Bob Tyler, we're not going to talk you out of it. Obviously, that's our goal, but we're going to give you all the information to make the right decision. Years ago, we subscribed to the invoices of every new car out there. It was a book, and now it's electronic, where I can tell you what the list price was and what the cost was of every new car. Now, I'm not saying that you're going to walk into a dealership, buy it for cost, but if you're thinking about buying a brand new Chevy, wouldn't that be a nice thing to know? Again, these are different times where I said before, you're lucky if you can even buy one for full list. But in the old days, you know, you want to buy one for a couple of $100 over cost. Well, how do you know what cost is? And cost can also be inflated. So we give you the real cost of the car. We give you our advice, again, free advice on what we think you should be able to buy that car for. And the other thing we do is if you have a trade-in, we give you that free appraisal so you've got a second opinion on your trade-in. Let's say you're going to buy a brand new car. Let's say it's a brand new Toyota over at Bob Tyler. And again, if you're going to buy a brand new one, we would tell you to go to our local dealer. We wouldn't tell you to go over to Bill or down south, whatever. Go right here and patronize our dealerships. I don't care if it's Subaru, if it's Billy Anderson or Alan Turner. I don't care which one you buy. Try to buy in town if you can. And then we're going to give you the advice. And the main thing we can help you with is we'll give you a buy bid on your trade-in. So that if you go to this dealership, you don't have to show them what we gave you. You can tell them, go ahead and praise my car. Well, if they come back with a ridiculous low offer, you can say, wait a minute, that's not going to work. I'm spending $50,000 with you guys, and you're giving me less for a car than Frontier Motors is giving me, and I'm not even buying from them. You should give me more if I'm buying. If I'm spending $50,000 for you, I expect you to give me $1,000 or $2,000 more for the car than Frontier Motors is. So having that back appraisal, back pocket appraisal, can save you thousands and thousands of dollars. It might not make me any money, but the way that it comes around back to me is when somebody buys that, asks that person that bought up the road, hey, where should I go to buy a used car? They don't normally recommend that dealer. They recommend the people that help them get the deal. And that's really worked for us us in the 25 years. Like I said, we started back in '96 with 25 cars in inventory. We're up to, sometimes our maximum was 450 cars. We're hovering between 300 and 350 cars right now. And our sales have grown from 25 cars a month to over, well, the average was 200. Our record was 300, and we're right now with the shortage of cars, because we really would like to have 400 cars in inventory. We have a little over 300. We're selling between 125 to 175 cars every single month, and that comes back to what I was talking about before. That if you've got a car, we're still short on inventory, even though we have lots of inventory, not where we want to be. So if you've got a car that you would like to sell, we would be happy to give you that bid in writing. And I was talking about the fact that we have free advice, and that anything to do with car sales, buying, we will give you the free advice. If you need a Carfax report, they're like $42 for a Carfax report. It's no charge at Frontier Motors. We can get one if you're buying from one of these lots on Palafox Street, or no matter where, or even some new car dealerships, they don't subscribe. I seen this the other day. I was on a new car dealer's website. I clicked Carfax report, and they put you to the Carfax link, and they wanted me to pay for a Carfax because they had a car that I was interested in. I wanted to see what the Carfax report was without me running it on my own. Because it had a link to it, and they wanted me to pay the $42. And I think, you guys are out of your mind. And that's one of the things I'm talking about. If you are going to a new car dealer that won't pay for that, that doesn't mean you have to walk out. They just don't want to pay for that for whatever reason, maybe because it costs money, or they're too cheap, or they don't want you to know what it says. We'll do it for you at no charge. And if you're going to sell your car, we'll show you how to fill out a buyer's order. We'll show you how to make the transaction, how to trade the money. What about cash? What about a check? What about automatic deposit? There's a lot of ways that you can get scammed, and we will sit down with you and kind of walk you through that. If you're going to sell your neighbor, a friend, or relative, maybe somebody at work, you're going to sell them a car, we'll show you how to do that. We'll also tell you what the fair price would be, so you're not overselling that car and having somebody get mad at you later on, or also underselling it where we would maybe give you more money than what you're selling it for. And I do that about 25% of the cars that I bid on from private individuals. I pay full list what they're asking. And one reason I can do that is because they're asking a lower than what they should be asking, because I can still sell that car and make more money. Now, I do have more avenues than you. I normally can get a little bit more for a car because number one, I've got more people coming and look at. Number two, I can take a trade-in. So a lot of times I can make the deal work for someone, where I always talk about that bottom line. I tell people, don't worry about what the list price is. Don't worry about what the discount is. Don't worry about what they're giving you for your trade-in, or even what their stupid fees are. Some dealerships charge obnoxious fees that I've never even heard of before, because that all fades back down to one thing, and that's the bottom line price of the car. So I don't care if somebody's charging you a $500 dock fee, or a $2,000 dock fee, or a no dock fees. There's one dealer I saw the other day on a Blab, by the way, that says, we don't charge a dealer fee. Okay, great, but you charge $500 more for your car. Well, isn't that charging a dealer fee? So, and it doesn't matter. I wouldn't even get mad at that dealer. All I'm asking you to do is ask them, give me the out the door, and I'm talking about with everything closed. Don't hit me with a license plate fee 30 days later. You know how these dealers do it. They have to do the license plate for you. They have to get the title for you. You can't do it yourself. I still have people come saying, well, give me a title and I'll go title it myself. It's illegal. You can't do that. I have to do it for you. And years ago, they did that because people weren't going into doing it. They'd have a car for 3 years. They never got a title. They never put a tag on it. They used the old tag and ran around for 3 years. So the state got smart, 40 years ago, and said the dealers are going to do this from now on. So the dealers started charging a fee. Well, they've gotten obnoxious with it. I know there's some dealers out here in Pensacola that are charging a $1,000 fee. Well, it's $9.99. That's pretty close to a $1,000 fee. And I don't get mad at them doing it. I get mad when they don't tell you. I get mad when they don't include it in the bottom line. When they don't include all the taxes. They'll include the state tax, but not not the county tax. Or they won't put all the fees in there. They won't new license plate can be as much as $500. Title, license, and registration. So if they put the taxes on there for you, and then 30 days later say, hey, your license plate says, come on, pick it up, and they say, okay, you got $500 due here, you got to flip. Because you said, wait a minute, I wanted an out-the-door deal. Well, you get out the door. I included the taxes. I included our dock fee. I included the battery tax and the turbo tax and the tire tax. I got to include all that. What about this $500? Heck, I could have bought at Frontier Motors. I like their car better, but you were $500 cheaper. Well, now I know why you're $500 cheaper, because you didn't include everything. So ask them to include everything. And then do the comparison. And then it goes back, if you're buying used to used, Let's say you're buying, you found that one car up, and I had this all the time in Atlanta. I can buy a BMW in Atlanta cheaper. Folks, I can buy a BMW in Atlanta cheaper too. That's where I get half my BMW. So don't tell me you can buy them cheaper, because that's where I'm buying the same darn car. But what the difference is the one thing that you can't see when you look at a picture online. They all look pretty online. They make them look pretty, but you can't tell until they get there, and that's the condition of the car. And the condition of the car makes more difference in the pricing than the mileage and the equipment. I talk about equipment a lot because I'm into the safety stuff, but even equipment like a sunroof, no sunroof, leather interior, no sun, that does not make as much of a difference as the condition of the car. The condition of the same car with the same miles can be as much as $5,000 difference between one that I call a rat, which is a complete turd, versus one that's really, really nice. In the old days, they used to call them cream puffs. I don't know where that word ever came from, but that was the perfect 10 for a used car. That's a car that's a one-owner car, clean history report, never been smoked in. There's been no dogs living in the back seat, and the oil's been changed on a regular basis. And when you open the car door, you think it's brand new, even though it's got 15,000 miles on it. And that's the car that I'm talking about that is going to bring top dollar. I pay a little bit more for that. I charge a little bit more for that. But I get a customer that's happy, that can't believe it, and they'll go and they'll look at the billboard in Car City and say, well, I can buy that same car on that billboard for $19.95 and you're at $22,000. And they come back about 3 days later and say, that car was the biggest piece of crap I've ever seen. I don't even know how they can advertise that car. And you know what the funny thing is? They had the nice car there too, because they bought both of them at the auction, but their nice car was $2,000 more than yours. So they're pretty smart, some of these dealers are. They go to the auction and they buy the ratty cars on purpose so they can advertise them in the newspaper, online, and on the billboards for less money. That kind of sucks you in. That's where that whole bait and switch term came from years ago, where they come in, you look at that 1995 car and you say, there's no way I'm buying this car for my daughter for her birthday. I can't do this. It's embarrassing. And they end up getting put on the elevator and buying the car there because they're already there. They don't want to go through the mess, and they end up paying the $5,000 more to get the nice one. So we do that right off the bat, folks. We don't take cars that are ratty and fix them up. We buy the nice ones right off the bat, and it makes a difference. And that's again why we've been one of the biggest premier dealers in the Gulf Coast. And when I say biggest, I say that with pride because there's a way you get to be the biggest. It's because you have repeat customers. Repeat customers that don't fight you, that come in, they ask for your best deal, you give it to them, they trust you that it's a fair deal. And we do a lot of research when we give you a price, because I don't want to be put in a position to be embarrassed where I give you a price and say, wait a minute, I found that car down the road $2,000 less and it's just as nice. That's not going to happen. So we do a lot of research. We have it all programmed. I know where every car is in the Pensacola area, actually nationwide, and how much they're asking for it. And I can run a Carfax on their car, and they might be cheaper, but what if they have an awful Carfax? What if it's had 3 motors put in it? It's had battery problems ever since they bought it. You want to know about that, and that would make a difference on what you're going to end up paying for that car. Check out FrontierMotorsInc.com. We got a great website, 320 cars in inventory. They have all got like 30 or 40 pictures. They've all got prices in them. There's a little link there. Get your out-the-door price in writing, which includes the taxes and all the garbage fees, so we'll make it really easy for you. And again, please refer us when you're ready or in the market for a car. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Auf Wiedersehen.